Thank you, Deputy Speaker. During my 2024 consideration in detail speech as Shadow Minister for Early Childhood Education and Care from last year, my opening line was, "It's been 2 years, 3 budgets, and I haven't met a single Australian who is better off under Labor." And here we are in the same position, on the same downhill spiral under this government. And the question is, are Australians safer? Are they more secure than they were when Labor took office? And the answer is a categoric no, because this is the reality. Australians always suffer under Labor, and they can see through the thinly veiled lies and the carefully crafted messages from Labor's best spin doctors. And Labor promised cheaper power, promised more homes, free visits to the doctor and lower taxes. But power prices continue to skyrocket, housing is more unaffordable than ever, out-of-pocket costs are, well, they're normal now, and new taxes are on the table. So it's no wonder Australians feel disappointed in their Prime Minister, and rightly so. Australians expect better from their Prime Minister. They expect more, and they have every single right to feel let down. Like many Australians, I'm deeply concerned about quality and about safety in our early learning centres. It seems like every night we turn on the news and there's a fresh example of alleged abuse and safety failures in our early learning centres. Just last week, a centre in Sydney's southwest was shut down amid alleged safety concerns. I will put on the record, however, that I do acknowledge the work of the Minister and recognise the bipartisanship that has been demonstrated over the recent months. And while the Minister may have met with his state and territory counterparts to agree on a plan, it's concerning to see the level at which these poor examples of child safety have been allowed to spiral out of control before the government acknowledged there was a problem and that a solution was needed. We simply cannot have a weak system where bad and evil people can find vulnerabilities to cause irreparable harm to children. Parents have lost faith in this government. And whilst the Coalition does support the government's approach to these child safety reforms, some big questions do remain. How will the Minister ensure each measure is implemented to ensure consistency across all states and territories? And who will be footing the bill? Because something needs to be done now to protect our littlest learners, our most precious assets, and ensure they have a safe environment in which to thrive. Families are not just waiting on this government to ensure their own children's safety. They're still waiting for this government to provide some relief in bringing down the increasing cost of early childhood education and care, which has continued to rise and rise and rise under this government. And in June, the Daily Telegraph reported that nearly 20 suburbs in New South Wales alone were spending more than 40% of their household income on their childcare. And it's no surprise that these suburbs are deemed regional, rural or remote, because Labor doesn't care about those communities. This government loves to talk about no Australian being worse off under them, no child left behind, and how important access to early learning is for children and their parents. But what they conveniently forget to tell you is that those statements don't apply to those who live in regional, rural or remote areas. We know that in many cases, children living in our regional areas are more likely to start developmentally behind when compared to children living in our major cities. And yet, this government has no plans to support children and their families in regional areas. And with fees continuing to skyrocket and accessibility even more scarce, how does this government plan to deliver cost of living relief to families accessing early childhood education? And what plans do you have to increase access for these families across Australia who are stuck on waiting lists? What about families in regional, rural and remote communities who are struggling to pay their bills? What's your plan to ensure the safety of our littlest learners when they're in care? You've killed the Australian dream of owning a home, you've crushed small business, you're draining our regions dry, and you continue to provide no certainty to families. Australians deserve better than this half-baked and underwhelming Albanese Labor government.